Hello everybody and welcome back to Storytime. Today I have my very special helper Connor with me and he's going to help me with some of the toys later on. Today we're thinking about people who keep us safe. So people like doctors and police officers, firefighters, and people who help us to learn, like teachers, maybe that's your mummy or daddy at the minute, nursery leaders, Sunday school teachers, ministers who teach us in church, people like Chris and Adrian. Can you think of any others? What about you? Can you think of any others?
Mountain rescue.
Mountain rescue. You do like a bit of mountain rescue, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Today's story is about two people who God sent to look after the people of Israel. One to keep them safe and one to teach them. Nehemiah and Ezra. Nehemiah, Ezra, and all the people of Israel had been taken from their home in Jerusalem and brought to a place very far away, a place called Babylon. They were there for many, many years before God had the king of Babylon let them go free. They travelled all the way back to Jerusalem only to find the city was falling down. It was a real mess. The wall around the city was a wreck, and the people needed the wall to stay safe from their enemies. God used Nehemiah to help the people rebuild the wall. They all helped: jewelers, perfume makers, people with funny names, people who were good at building, and people who weren't. They all lent a hand. Soon the wall was strong and restored. Do you remember that word, restored? We've been thinking about how God fixes things and repairs things and makes them strong again. Now the people of Jerusalem could be safe. Their enemies couldn't sneak up and attack them. God used Nehemiah to keep the people safe. The other man in our story today was Ezra. Ezra was a priest, a bit like a minister. When Ezra went to the temple, which was like their church, he discovered it had been destroyed too. Ezra led the people to rebuild the temple. When they'd finished, Ezra was able to teach the people about God again. Now they had a place to learn about God. God used Ezra to help his people know about him. Nehemiah helped to rebuild the city walls and keep the people safe in their daily lives. Ezra helped to rebuild the temple, giving the people somewhere where they could hear God's word and worship him. Both men and both jobs were really important. God knew his people needed both: Nehemiah for protection and Ezra to teach his word. We need people like that today too. People like police officers and firefighters, doctors and nurses, people who make decisions in our country. We need these people to help keep us safe. And we need ministers, church leaders and teachers to help us learn about God. God has given us lots of people like Ezra and Nehemiah to help keep us safe and to teach us about God. Our next story is read by somebody who used to be a teacher, and now she writes marvellous poems and stories, like the one she's got for you today. Here's Helen.
Hello, Beaver boys and girls. This is Helen, and this behind me is my dog Ted, who's just sort of keeping in the background while I read to you. Welcome to Storytime. This is a story I wrote myself about a little bird, Baby Robin's new clothes. Most of what you hear about is actually true. Everyone knows what a robin looks like, don't they? A little brown songbird with a narrow pointy beak and a lovely red breast. Well, that's not exactly the whole story. Sometimes robins actually don't have red breasts. Isn't that amazing? A robin redbreast without a red breast. You see, the robins who don't have red breasts are the baby robins. Instead, they are speckled brown all over. Here is the story of one such bird and how he eventually got his new clothes. His name is Toffee Tips, and it's only a week since he and his brothers and sisters left their nest. He stands tall on slender legs as his large eyes dart about, taking in everything around him. There's a shower of rain on, and he shakes his feathers to get rid of all the drops of water. Toffee Tips is very interested in the rain, as he has never seen anything like it before. Just imagine if you had never seen rain. What would you make of it? He decides to dart in under a small bush to get a better view without being soaked in the process. So he observes the rain dropping onto the grass and then just disappearing. What happens to it, he wonders. Where does it go? He listens to the different sounds it makes, hammering on the greenhouse roof and plopping into the bird bath. Plop, plop, plip, plop it goes. Then he watches the droplets as they slither and slide down a glossy rhododendron leaf nearby. Suddenly, feeling thirsty, he hops across and waits for the next drip to form. When it does, he leans over and catches it in his beak. It tastes good as it slowly trickles down his throat. He repeats this jolly little exercise several more times until his thirst is quenched. Once the shower is over, Toffee Tips ventures out onto the grass again. He starts to examine its roots in search of the vanished raindrops. But of course, he can't find any there. However, he does manage to pull out a little wriggling worm, much to his surprise. What a lovely treat, he thinks, as he gulps it down eagerly. His mum and dad still bring him food, but it tastes even better when you've caught it yourself like this. Then he goes over to inspect the bird bath for the raindrops he heard plopping earlier, but he can't find them there either. Instead, he discovers something else. Can you guess what it is? His own reflection. A little speckled brown bird stares eagerly back at him. He cocks his head this way and that, and the reflection does the same. Then he begins to study the mirror image more closely. If he is a robin redbreast, as his parents have told him many times, then where is his red breast? Why does he look different from his parents? He finds this very puzzling and a bit unnerving. Later that day, when he meets up with his mum again at feeding time, he decides to tell her about his problem. "Mummy, why am I different?" "What do you mean, my dear? You're not different at all. You're a beautiful baby robin and I love you very much." "But I haven't got any red breast. What happened? Did God run out of colours when my turn came?" "Of course not, Toffee Tips. God has plenty of colours to spare. All baby robins start off like you, brown and speckled. It's safer that way. It means you're not so likely to be attacked by any other grumpy robin who might happen to come across your path." "Oh, I see. And when does my red breast arrive?" "Just you wait, dear. By the end of summer, when you're older and more able to look after yourself, you will molt and be given a new suit of feathers, complete with a red breast, just like me. Now, what about some more of those lovely mealworms you liked so much yesterday? Oh, yes, please, Mummy. But, Mummy... Yes, dear? You know when it rains? Yes. Well, where do the raindrops go? And so the summer passes by very pleasantly, and little Toffee Tips learns many new things, not just about the rain, but lots of other useful information as well. Soon he begins to feel that he knows most of the important things. Just as the first leaves start falling from the trees, he senses that more of his feathers than usual have been loosening and floating away during preening sessions. Then, one momentous day, he has another look in the bird bath's mirror. And guess what? There is a beautiful, spruce, red-breasted reflection staring straight back at him. So here he is, no longer little Toffee Tips, but a bright adult robin, just like his parents and all other robins. He is kitted out in his new suit of clothes after all. He is so pleased with himself that he starts to sing. What? He is able to sing now as well. What else does this wonderful new world have in store for him? As he hurries off to find out, he can't resist puffing out his bright red breast. Just a little bit. The end. All right, Ted, did you enjoy that story? He was listening anyhow. Thank you for listening, children. Bye-bye.